Yeah,
Hey,
that was good.
good afternoon or evening, I guess, if you're watching from a different time zone. We just want to welcome everyone and say thank you for coming to our first public happy hour. We're just going to have some, we just really miss people and we want to see people. And we know that we're all going through so much of the same stuff right now, trying to figure out what's going to happen in the fall and so many adjustments we're all going to have to make. But I want to thank you guys for being here. We are recording tonight in case people miss it, and we'll post that in the Facebook group and on our YouTube channel and stuff like that, so that people have access to the resource after this. But I guess I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing and what this is about. Basically, we're looking at replacing our 5 in-person vocal jazz academies that we had planned around the country. Basically, with this, we want to continue to help since it looks like meeting face to face isn't going to be an option. We want to make sure that everybody can get together and talk, and that's why we created the Facebook group, Vocal Jazz Academy Educator Support, and that's why we're doing these. We want to just get together and hang and see everybody. And the cool thing about this is that we've got a team of people willing to help out. So you're going to hear lots of voices tonight, people that are associated with the Vocal Jazz Academy, but just people that are here from our community because that's what we miss the most right now, for sure. So tonight we're just going to kind of get things started and probably address the bigger elephant in the room, which is what the heck is everybody going to be dealing with in the fall. Some of you know that already. Some of you don't. Some of you are waiting to see. Some of you are negotiating with your administration. Some of you just want a summer break, and we get all of that. We get all of that big time. But we just want to open a dialogue with you tonight here in person, but also on the group. We want the group to be a real place where people feel like that you guys can jump on and post something and get a helpful, specific response. So, but we want to have some fun tonight as well. So I'm going to ask Ian, if you'll
Oh,
do
is
us
this
the
me?
honors here. This is you. We need we need you to lead us this evening.
Oh, say no, not that. Cheers, everybody. It's so good to see you all. Happy trails to all of us through this journey. Cheers.
Yay!
Cheers. Just gets better and better. I love it. The biggest thing that we want to do with both the Facebook group and these sessions is just keep it positive and fun. We have so much serious stuff to talk about and address, but we are going to have a good time, as we talk through this. And obviously, we're all in idea sharing mode right now. One of the things that we want to do with the Facebook group is not only just give people a chance to talk. There's plenty of places on Facebook to do that, but you're going to see that some of our things on the group are organized by topic. So, like, we have a thread that's just specifically about how to deal with technology and microphones in this time, how to defend why you need to keep teaching vocal jazz ensemble to your administration. So when you go on, you put a post on there. We encourage you to tag it with one of those topics, add your new topic. We want it to be a place where you guys can go, okay, like Julie Lawson was talking with just before we got started. How do I teach this on Canvas? And so we might end up getting a Canvas thread going and some things like that. So Jessica is here. You're not going to see her tonight. My wife, Jessica, is our administrative ninja, and she's going to be doing administrative ninja-y things behind the scenes. So she's gonna actually post a thread on the group. If you have comments that you want to, like if you're just watching this and you have things, hey, this is what I think you guys should address as we have these weekly sessions together. We'd love for you to just kind of throw that on there and give us some ideas for what we can do in future weeks. So thank you, Jessica, for that. We are going to spotlight 3 people tonight that are going to kind of kick us off with the discussion tonight. Christine Guter is here from Cal State Long Beach, and she's going to talk about what's happening at her 4-year university. And I'm sure there will be other university teachers here who will have some thoughts about that. Ian Brekke is here from Las Positas College, and he's going to talk about what's happening at his school, of course, representing 2-year schools. And Christine Taveras Mocha is here as well from Valencia High School. So she's going to be talking about some of the things that happen at the high school level. So, and then we're gonna just open it up and have some discussions and raise a glass and do what we do. So, Christine, can I introduce you and have you just talk a little bit about where you're at?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you guys. Oh, this makes me happy. Okay, that's all. Bye. Um, no, I've actually been on sabbatical this semester, so I haven't had to deal with a lot of the immediate transitioning and craziness that you guys have had to do. And in my failure to think forward, every time I would get an email in my inbox about technology, teaching choir online, I'd be like, delete, delete, delete. I don't have to worry about that. School will be back in session. Now, we know it's not. So, but what's happening at Long Beach right now, and we're going to know a lot more by June 1st, which is coming up really fast. Right now, there are no large ensembles meeting. So like wind symphony, concert band, orchestra are not allowed to meet. The classes will not be offered. The teachers won't get credit for teaching them. The students won't be able to sign up. So those teachers have to fill their load with other things. We have made an argument for the smaller ensembles. So it's still on the table. The university, Cal State Long Beach, has approved this, but now it goes to the chancellor of the entire CSU system. So we don't know if he's going to say yes or no. But the ones that are still on the table would be the big bands and the vocal jazz ensembles and choir if it's split up into smaller sections. The choir is going to be rehearsing outside, spaced apart if it runs. The big bands will also be outside, spaced apart, with one person in charge of working with the technology, like the setting up drum set or amps or whatever, so that not a lot of people are touching it. And then the vocal jazz ensembles, it was proposed that they meet in our recital hall with the singers all spaced really, really far apart. Everybody is on their own microphone, so they're not sharing. Everybody gets their own mic and cable that they have for the entire semester. We're going to require that they buy that as part of classroom materials. And then again, only one ensemble. I just found out yesterday, actually, that they weren't even going to run a second or third vocal jazz ensemble, that only the top group would be able to meet, which I'm fighting. But they said they don't want that many students on campus every week. That was their justification for that. So I said, okay, then let the first group rehearse 1 week, and then the second group can rehearse on campus the following week, or we'll go outside one, come on, we'll work around it. But it's really hard to fight such a large educational system. So we're waiting to find out. So obviously we'd have to have 4,300 monitors set up if the students are going to be that far apart, but that is what we're planning. But everything that can be taught off campus is going to be taught off campus. So all the theory classes, pretty much everything else. No private lessons will be face-to-face. Those all have to be online. So, oh, and this is interesting too. No one 65 and over can come to campus at all if they're staff or faculty. So that means a lot of our music faculty are 65 and over, but even if they want to, they can't come to campus.
Wow.
So Jeff Jarvis, who's our jazz band director, happens to be 65 or over. I'm not sure of his age. And so even if they run his big band, he can't direct it. So they asked him, well, who do you want to direct it? Which is a drag, but that's
Wow.
Does that include administration or teachers only? Does that include administration and administrators, or is that teachers only?
I'm not sure. I know it's faculty and staff. I'm not sure about administrators.
Wow.
So that's, I mean, any other questions about that?
So do they drag you off campus on your 65th birthday? No, I'm just joking.
Well, he's really mad. He's like, this is ageism. They should be a choice of whether they want to come or not. you know, and the faculty is given a choice regardless. If they feel uncomfortable or unsafe, they can, no matter what the age is, they can opt out and just say, well, I'll teach all online. So that's where that's at.
Can I ask a question? Have any of you taught piano classes online before? And do you set up like a camera over the piano and they watch your fingers? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing a double camera feed. I'm also doing the Jeremy Fox's Jazz Harmony Retreat. We're literally coming up on the final weekend of our first one, and that's what we're doing. We're sharing screens where I have it toggled so I can go back and forth between my face and the close-up camera. So I can just go back and forth real quick, or you can double log in with Zoom and have both of those appearing all the time. So there's a couple of ways to do that.
There's also, I happen to know someone who has this. It's like a baseball hat with a clip on it where you can put your
GoPro or
Really?
phone.
silly, but you can put your phone on it so that you look down and they can see your hand. If you're
That's
interested, I'll send you a link.
Yeah, that's a major MacGyver right there. Let's hear from Ian Brekke up in Northern California here. I mean, maybe you can tell us a little bit of what's happening at your college.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everybody. So we are kind of in limbo, like all of you. I mean, we're sort of floating in between a lot of ideas, and it feels like the administration is trying to delay things as long as possible, which has been a lot of this. So one of the first things that I said to admin was that we're not medical experts, and so asking our advice, like I can speak on musical terms and react to the news that we're getting nationally, but beyond that, I don't have any expert advice on what is safest. And so I proposed some ideas forward at our school just to try to make as much fly as possible. I'll just prompt this by saying that like a month or 6 weeks ago, I jokingly sort of texted Brian Doko, who's on this call, but like, well, Vocal Jazz solved this a long time ago. Like, we'll just use in-ear monitors and stand in different rooms and stand all the way apart, and like, it's solved. It's fine. We're good. And Brian Doko, being who he is, like, did all the research and put together a document and published it this week of how a wired system like that would work. But I was actually working with him on that document as I was working with my administration, and so that's kind of what I pitched in some ways. Is the most radical thing was pitching the wired in-ear monitor solution, and doing a permanent setup in our main stage, but using the audience area as well. So really just maximizing distancing and setting up individual stations for each student, and then running 2 XLR cords, just one for a microphone and one for their belt pack that they would all have. And people can walk in with their masks on, they can walk to their station, plug both things in, and we can rehearse and we can perform and we can do the whole thing, and they can be like 30, 40, 50 feet apart as they do that. So I think we're in such a unique place that Vocal Jazz, out of all the music ensembles, like Vocal Jazz is uniquely prepared to deal with social distancing. Like, of all the groups, we don't have to stand close together to do this. So that's what I pitched to my administration, and I haven't gotten confirmation on that, but it's looking pretty good, actually. And we once I sent that forward, then the instrumental department kind of reacted and said, like, yeah, maybe we should do that too. And so now we're looking at trying to do all ensembles that way. Chamber choir would be the same thing. It's not ideal, but it would be better than standing 50 feet apart acoustically, just outdoors. So that's the radical thing that I've pitched. And then the safe option is that our campus has an amphitheater, and we would just meet in quartets or in sextets and just smaller groups. We would socially distance as much as we can, and then that would be their performing as an ensemble thing to meet their student learning outcomes for the semester. and then everything else I would be doing online. So I'd be structuring everything online. I would be using a lot of BandLab, which is the free online GarageBand, essentially. The functionality is about the same. Setting up some pre-made templates over the summer to kind of build up to the entire virtual choir thing. So start with solo projects and then build up over time. So I kind of tried to do the radical all the way down to the super safe, just thinking that if I have all of that, they're not going to cancel anything. That I can give them an outlet to say, okay, this is going to work regardless. So that's kind of where we're at. We do know that the lecture classes are already confirmed to be online for the fall. And so it's really about every single lab class on campus is how is that going to work? And for us, we're just being asked to pitch our best idea. So that's as far as I've gotten with this. And I don't know when I'll know. So I kind of just send my students a weekly update and say, here's where we're at. And you'll know when I know. And I'm hoping for the best. But I feel like I've covered the extreme all the way to the safe, just to make sure that the art form will survive and that we will have ensembles for the fall. So that's my spiel. I see Bradley. Yeah.
Did you have to budget-wise for your wired in your other pieces? Are you having to fight for that, or are you able to just use your regular budget, or you already have it, or what's going on budget-wise for you with that?
We have no budget officially. Like like we're sort of slashed to pieces. We do have. I feel fortunate that I manage the budget for our department as a coordinator, and so I've been stockpiling kind of a rainy day fund with concert proceeds for a few years now. So we are planning on purchasing the necessary splitters and the necessary XLR cables. The belt packs and the SM58 microphones will be a student purchase, and that's not even because we couldn't hypothetically find a way to afford it. It's just the most sanitary option, and we can guarantee that it's brand new and no other student has ever touched it. So we have those two expenses. They add up to about $80 or $90 total per student.
That's good for them to have anyway as a professional singer. So that.
Yep. Yep. And then I have a small stockpile of like old beat up SM58s that if somebody just can't afford it, like I know they haven't been touched in 3 or 4 years, and I would just loan those out. So that's the current working solution. Doko, you have anything? Did I miss anything in this?
No, just that proposal assumes you have nothing, but I think most jazz directors have most of us have some extra XLRs. So some of the cost on that proposal can be avoided. And I didn't say this, but you don't have to get Proco XLRs. You could get super budget line if they're just being used for in-ear monitors. Fidelity doesn't matter that much, so you could save some money there too.
Yep. So I hope that's helpful to somebody out there, because that's the best solution we've come up with so far. David, I saw you there.
Thanks. If it's possible to share this stuff, is this proprietary? Would you mind that the specifics of that? It sounds awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah. So Brian wrote a document, and we posted it to Vocal Jazz Educators and then our Facebook page as well earlier this week. So you should be able to just jump in there and download that whenever.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ian. I'm going to turn the spotlight over to Christine Mocha. She's not on my screen right now, but I'm sure she's still here. Christine, would you talk a little bit about what's going on at your high school?
Yes. So we are doing everything right now 100% online. I'm sure like all of you, I teach high school. And outside of the 2 vocal jazz groups that I teach, I also have 3 other ensembles. And we've done everything on Zoom and done some of these virtual choirs. But what we're looking at for next year, our district has not given us any directives yet, except just to follow the CDC guidelines that are coming out And LA County just basically came out with a guideline of maybe 16 per class. With that knowledge, I decided to make 2 of the vocal jazz groups just have 16 in them. At the high school level, sometimes I'll push that up to 20, but this year we decided the 2 groups needed to be 16. And my main focus, I think, is trying to pitch to my administration a 80-20 or 60-40 hybrid, where perhaps we meet twice a week, and with those 16, we meet maybe in quartets or octets outside. So my goal in the next week is to come up with a plan that would work, where my students can have the online experience with Zoom, learn their part ahead of time. And I'm going to definitely explore, after talking to Brian, the inner ear monitors, because I think for vocal jazz, putting the groups in quartets, I think it's doable outside. And I think for connection wise, many of my students that are in the vocal jazz classes, they take that because they want to rehearse and be together and perform. So to do that safely, that's what we're looking into for the options of inner ear monitors. Definitely thinking about what Dr. Scott Glisson is doing at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. He has a platform, and I need to find out how he's doing this. But having a concert that has online admission, where you can come in and pay $5 to watch the performance, and $10 for a backstage pass so you can talk to the students. I see that as our performance venue for a while, but I see a possible recording of that performance where at least quartets or octets can be together, and then I can possibly maybe combine that through Logic, through software. So that's what I'm looking at for the vocal jazz groups. For the other groups, I think we'll actually be incorporating a lot of Zoom lessons, but more than anything, just making sure that we connect with our students. So even in the larger ensembles, seeing if there's even once every 2 weeks, I can meet with 10. These are all possibilities, and I want to be ahead of it. So I'd like to present to my administration an 80-20, an all online model, a 60-40 model, because I have a feeling that the syllabus that you're going to be using is going to be ever changing each month. So if you have something ahead of time where you can show them rather than wait for them to tell you what you're going to do, I think you'll actually be able to see your students more. Anyways, that's what we're attempting to do. That's what I'm attempting to do. So I'm really hoping that I can be physically around a smaller group of students so we can sing together.
I'm just curious too, like, does anybody have a situation for the fall that's drastically different than anything we're talking about? I mean, is anybody in just like a totally different position at this point?
I am.
Andrea, yeah.
So they're looking at, they wanted to cut everything. We're not allowed on campus at all unless we have to go through risk management to even try to collect instruments and choir robes. And we so far aren't approved to even do that. And so both of my counterparts, Sky Angelo, who teaches the classical choirs, we're both going to co-list our choirs because they're telling us they won't give us any leeway on enrollment numbers. And our union rep is fighting it, of course, but with a 10% cut, we're not sure how much leeway we have. So what I'm doing is co-listing my evening jazz with my day choir, the advanced group. And it means I won't get paid for that group, but it means that my enrollment numbers can be lumped together. So that way, at least I can have something, and I'll give of my time for my choir. I'm taking an extra load on top of that. I'll be teaching double music, jazz history, and running an ethno music class that I've never taught before to make my load. But that's our creative workaround, is that, sorry, my husband is giving me a funny look, is that we'll run them both at the same time. And help each other. If she's got extra people in our, I mean, our numbers could be huge, we don't know, or they could be minuscule. So without knowing all that, I'm trying not to laugh, without knowing all that, that's what we're doing. But they're not giving us much hope as far as having ensembles. But I do want to try the in-ear monitor route for sure.
Just pitch it. Why not?
I'll speak for Acoustic San Bernardino. I've not heard anything. I don't think anyone wants to talk about it in the music department. So I've fished things out, but haven't heard anything. On the other side, on the Cypress College side, where Andreas is now subbing in for vocal jazz, they basically cut all performance ensembles, and it's been a hard fight so far, right, Andreas? They don't want to meet in person, but also because these classes are not written as to be distance ed approved. They can also not go online. So it's a fight both ways, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with the Cypress College side. Unless you have more info, Andreas, have you learned about that yet?
Could I ask a quick question, Andy? I'm so sorry to interrupt, but how did they handle the distance ed requirement when you were forced online?
Because it was an emergency.
But they're not treating the fall as an emergency?
Correct. Because now enough time has gone by. Now teachers have to be distance ed trained to even put their class online. And, or I guess the class needs to be distance ed approved. And with that and with SLOs not written the way they could be, those two things are killing it pretty bad.
It's very frustrating.
Are you allowed to do a DE addendum? Distance education addendum for your course?
I think I've mentioned that, but there seems to be a little bit of fight because of the time that it would take to have that approved. But they haven't said no, so no one's said a yes or no yet.
You might consider getting the paperwork somehow and writing them anyways for all the music courses and just taking them to Senate. And I know that's a little, forward, but I mean, it worked for us. We just did them, showed up with them, and luckily we have, my colleague, Dr. Knapp, who's been on Senate before, but if you can find who your Senate rep was previously or is now, and just get the documents, be the one to volunteer, with all our free time, do them, write them, and that could help. I don't know, I'm hoping for
great.
you.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that happened at Maricosta College is we somehow got the extension all the way through the fall, so we can teach anything distance ed. And I thought that was a state thing, but maybe it was a local decision that we did. I'm not really sure exactly how that came up. So we found out that we're completely online, which is helpful in some ways because we know what we can plan for, but we can't even do private lessons. They're not even going to allow anything one-on-one. So we're in a really, really weird, super restrictive, but yet at least we can plan. So, okay, we're going to continue this conversation in a little bit. But if you look at your clock, you see we're exactly halfway done. This is going to be a happy hour session, not a happy 9-hour session, because we're going to do this every week. So this is really important. Everybody raise your glass. Very important. It's bottoms up time, folks.
Gulp.
Gulp is right. Thank you. We needed that. Has anybody else heard that they're totally online for this semester? Or are you guys? Do we know? Andrea told right can't go to campus.
And Julie here. Yeah, we've already heard from College of the Canyons that we will be strictly online this fall. Slowly, they will let certain groups come back onto campus, like people in the nursing program who have to have certain labs, the welding people, the EMTs, and the music people are towards the bottom. But my dean is hopeful that we can start online and make it a hybrid, 8 weeks online, and then come back in some capacity for the second 8 weeks, perhaps quartets in the choir room. Thing is, my choirs meet at night. So meeting out in the parking lot or something like that doesn't really hold for my groups. It's going to be cold and dark. So I'm hoping, I would be happy to just have the altos for an hour and then have the tenors come in. But the problem with bringing anyone on campus, because we've also suggested using the Performing Arts Center, have the kids spread out all over the theater with me and the pianist on the stage, but it's the cleaning that has to be done. Every time someone's on campus, and just like Andrea was saying, we're not allowed on campus without going through all kinds of red tape, and then they follow you into your office or wherever, and as soon as you leave, they spray the office and they do their whole treatment. And it's not just going in with a bottle of Windex. They have a very set routine that they have to do, and they don't have enough janitors to be cleaning all these big facilities. And that's the main reason they're not gonna let us back in any capacity, at least for the time being. And also, just like you, we were allowed to, since it was an emergency, start teaching online in any capacity you want. So I started using Zoom and email and even phone calls with students and texting, whatever it took. But now we have to be certified on Canvas for the fall. No more doing it our own way, even if it was working perfectly and the students were happy. So that comes from the state chancellor, I think. So we all have to be trained so that if there's a second wave or an earthquake or whatever, and we have to go home all of a sudden, that we're all teaching the same way. It's for the accreditation people too, when they come and they want to see that everyone is Canvas trained.
If anyone needs help with Canvas training, please reach out to me. I've been using it for about 5 years, and I'm sure there's others who are better than me even, but you know, reach out.
Same here.
Okay, thank you.
Michelle Hawkins, you had your hand up a while ago. I'm curious to hear what your situation is.
Oh, just very similar. We are 100% online. End of story. But my dean is adamant. She was thrilled when I said I wanted to continue. She was like, "Do you want to continue?" So so we're not in danger of being cut. It's more of how do you want to make it work? So that's good.
I have a question just looking around the chat room and seeing these ultra famous vocal jazz arrangers that are just chilling out in the background. So how, this is more for the directors, but like how can these arrangers best serve repertoire needs for the fall? Like what format is most helpful? Like what can they be looking at and doing? Yeah, Angie.
So Carrie and Julia have been doing these great music -1 tracks. I had a little chat thing going on there. My class this summer is the community school at the jazz school in Berkeley. It is everything's online. They won't allow us to do in person anything. So I'm creating music -1, which is a huge amount of prep. So I think that given that not everybody can be a in-person choir, even outside, doing some kind of ensemble singing together. I love that Carrie, you and Julia have done the music -1 things. It's an inspiration. It is a ton of work. I wonder if that's something that we could all kind of share, because not all, most of the arrangements that we all have, maybe there's a bunch of legacy stuff. There isn't any of that. So that's what I'm doing. Is I'm trying to create a pod of a variety of levels and different kinds of arrangements that I already have, and do music -1.
So we've been kicking around for about a month what we might do to react in order to be able to provide something that's useful. It's been a bit of a mad dash in the last 2 weeks as we've gone through a few different big ideas, and one of them I was talking with Ian about and Brian Doko about Band Lab. I think that we wind up with high schools having COPPA problems with that, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. I think that we can't have them. They would have to sign up with me, like I'd have to have their username and stuff, and which gets weird at the high school level. Probably not appropriate and doable. So the thing that we're working on right now is something called skytracks.io. which is the only thing that I've found where you can have, and yeah, Jeremy, Matt, you'll want to know this, and other writers will want to know this. The only thing I found where you can embed into a website, basically a DAW, a digital audio workstation, with limited functionality, but you can control the levels for all the parts. And so we've got, 250 recordings on our hard drive that we can bounce the stems in a clean way so that people can, just solo Julia's soprano 1 part, and the students can learn that. And without doing much else, they can mute that in order to sing it along with the rest of the tracks. If that's too much, they can like sort of gradually roll it back to where it's muted. You can use it for rhythm tracks, that sort of thing. So it's essentially, we're trying to streamline, using this new software online, trying to streamline the idea of part tracks and minus tracks and rhythm tracks, put them all into one thing, make it a little more flexible. It's not everything I wanted, but I had to deal with mechanical licensing yesterday on this, and found out that they don't want it to where people can record and then share again, which was the other band lab thing that was going to be amazing. Oh, you can do remixes with Julia's voice and all that. They're not happy with that idea. And so I can't license it. And I can't really, everything's crazy. So you're like, oh, I'll do it underground or something. It's not really cool. You got to have it right. And so the only right way to do it is on our end has been this Skytrax, and they're pretty new, and they're working out some server bugs right now. Julie and I have been trying to upload some tracks to test it out, and it's been a little frustrating so far. They say by the end of the summer, they're going to have everything robust and ready to go. It takes a while to upload those tracks. So we're trying to make that a thing that we can offer as a slicker way to, in distance learning, for people to be able to put in a password, go to a website, and have, a pretty easy to use digital audio workstation, muting and soloing and all that. So that's kind of our deal. Yeah.
Question about that. So is Skytrax something that us as individuals who are doing Music Minus One for like legacy arrangements could use as well instead of BandLab?
You can. Their pricing may get a little dicey because they have I think it's like $16.95 a month to have 25 projects, and then 1 project for free, 5 projects for $5 a month, and then it tiers in that way. It's a little dicey. I'm going to be asking them to do. I'm going to be asking them to do a special thing for me in bulk where I can have up to 150 projects, because I've got I want to have a variety of the arrangements we have. For individuals doing it, I don't know how that's going to work price wise for folks to have a monthly thing like that. But yeah, it is pretty slick as long as they work the bugs out in the next couple months. So worth looking at least.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that, Carrie. Are some of you going to be introducing or continuing or expanding the concept of having your students sing more solo tunes? I know it's already written into my curriculum. So where my group at Miracosta College has always been kind of like 60% ensemble stuff, but we spend, almost one whole rehearsal a week working on lead sheets and soloing and singing with it, counting off a band, all that sort of stuff. Because our concerts usually are like 3 or 4 ensemble tunes and then, 10 solos. So we kind of split that time. Do some of you either have that model already embedded, or are you looking at some of that more? Maybe you create tracks or even just send them iReal Pro tracks to sing over.
Yeah, my accompanist has been making solo tracks for the students to sing jazz standards too. So yeah, we're going to do a lot more of that in the fall for sure. And I'm going to also adopt what Jennifer Barnes did at UNT this semester, and apparently she's been doing it for a few years, that Match the Artist. Have you seen some of her posts on Facebook? It's very cool. She'll assign a student an artist to emulate in every possible way, and that they have to learn the whole tune and sing along with that artist with every inflection, every change in timbre. very, exactly same style. And it's a lot of fun. And I think it's a good lesson. So we'll do stuff like that. And Michelle Weir has great stuff on Music Habit. So we'll watch interviews and things like that. Yeah.
It was interesting because I did a little bit of both in these last 8 weeks with the students, and they went along. They did their lead sheets and they did the solos, and they were happy to get a nice recording of their own voice and everything. But they did miss the ensemble singing, for what it's worth. I mean, it didn't, it was interesting. I'll just say it that way.
Right. Well, are people, all of you, confident you're going to get to fill up all your ensemble classes? You think your students are going to come back? Yeah. It's scary. I know.
I'm not. I don't know.
Right.
Can I say a word about that? I'm very happy to hear that you guys are still able to run your ensembles, even though it won't be face to face. It's really grim. Even as we know, there's a ton of things that the students could learn, whether it's face to face or online. There are so many skills that they could learn. And I would like to justify that, and I've tried to justify that, but we've been told that if it's decided that we can't have ensembles face to face, there will be no ensembles because it doesn't line up with the student learning outcomes. It's not the same experience because ensemble is together, not recorded and separate. I don't know, Gao, if you're in the same situation. You are. Okay. Yeah. So that's really like incredibly, I'm excited for you, but I'm sad for myself if that were to happen. But regarding like the solo singing stuff, we do a lot of that in private lessons. Now they've told me, if we don't get to offer any ensembles, they're going to have different class offerings. So one of them, they've asked me to teach in the scenario where there are no ensembles. They've asked me to teach a recording at home class, which I think is great, super useful. And I'm excited to teach it. And they've also asked me to teach kind of a spirituality and music class, which I'm thrilled to teach. And I'd be all over that, about the aesthetic, emotional, the total artist package. And so, we're kind of finding other ways to make the experience for the students be valuable and worthwhile and meaningful, which is so important. So yay for those of you that still get to have ensembles. I don't know yet. Right. I know we're all in a holding pattern right now, but I think the important thing to remember is that this is temporary. What we're going through right now is temporary. And yeah, David.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I've been doing some improv classes with different body percussion. I'm teaching circle singing at the LA College of Music and some other places, and I've signed up for Rhiannon's online class. I've been hanging with a few other people, some improvisers in San Francisco and New York, and they've been playing some fun games that could be useful too, where the person sings along, and also the studio singing class has moved entirely online, which is the same thing, Christine, that you're looking at. And because that's what's going on, that's the only sessions that are happening right now that I'm aware of. So it's definitely going to be that case for a while for anybody who's wanting to work in the business in LA, at least. Probably anywhere. But in any case, the improv stuff has been really fun. There's some things that work well. Obviously, the latency is a huge problem, but there's some things where muting, you can cleverly mute people, then unmute them and bring them in. Sing a phrase, have somebody sing it back. So you can and right there in real time with Match the Artist, that kind of a concept. You play the artist, and then you have them, you can coach them real time on how that's going and stuff, not just through recording. So there are some really interesting things going on that people are doing that would not work as well live. Actually, there's some being able to hear more people quickly, really quickly assess what's happening. That's hard to do live sometimes. But so trying to find out things that are not just settling for, well, crap, sorry about this, but really this is distance learning. And we are finding some new ways that may come in handy and may play in tandem even when we can meet in person. So that's what I'm hopeful about, and discouraged. So we're teaching it this summer, so some things are not going to be available. So
Kate Reed, hi. When we were talking the other day, I thought it was incredibly interesting. You were saying that your ensembles, they were doing the online thing and you had them do some recording projects, and it was so successful and they learned so much that you're going to write it into your curriculum now for the ensembles. Can you say a word about that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we had 3 ensembles, actually 4, a total of 4 ensembles record at least one a cappella piece, and then at least one rhythm section. One of the groups, I think, ended up doing 5, and the rhythm section would lay down the tracks, and then everybody uploads to Box, and then all that's put into GarageBand and or Pro Tools or whatever they're using. Yeah, the overall feeling, it can be tedious, I think, too. You know, it's a pacing thing that's really where I had to be really careful not to just browbeat them. When is that track going to get done? When is that track going to get done? But hey, let's shoot for next Friday. What do you guys think? You know, because we were all in this emergency mode, and they kind of liked it. They really enjoyed the opportunity to be kind of flexible as to when they felt like doing it. And then some of them would say, well, I started working on this track and I spent 2 hours and it still wasn't good enough, and I finished it the next day. So just that process by which they went through their own methods of learning how they do what they do. And then, of course, when they're analyzing their own thing, it's obviously they're learning a lot through that process. So it was really successful and the kids really dug it. Students really dug it. And I think in the juries that we heard, we did recorded juries for all of the majors and the principals. I really heard a change in the attention to vocal technique and certain issues that I don't think they had really thought about before. So when push came to shove, they really had to kind of look at those glaring issues, and I think the recording really helped. So yes, I plan to put it in to the syllabus. If we were going to be back on campus August 23rd starting classes, by the 3rd week of classes, I was going to have them recording and submitting tracks to me. So I think it's really helpful. And I think it's all applicable, you know, to what they're going to do if they're going to be performing folk. So
to Miami's credit, I mean, the degree is studio music and jazz, SMJ, right? It still is after all this time since I graduated, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So yay, totally.
Yeah.
Cool. We've got about 10 minutes left, folks, but we'll just want to see there's a few people in here that haven't spoken up. Maybe there's something that you want to share or throw into the conversation. We'll do a wrap as we get closer to the top of the hour here. I see some new faces coming in as well.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve. It's good to see you.
Very cool.
Anybody have a question or comment about anything that's been discussed? Jeremy, I haven't heard from you. How's it going over there? Okay, all right.
Is anyone else doing high school dual enrollment to try and cover their butts for numbers if the admin is wanting your numbers to be high?
I'm doing a bit of that. Yeah, so for us, I work at Rancho Cotati. I'm mostly band focused, but I also have a choir program. I had one of my students this year do jazz choir with Christine. It was a great experience, learned a lot. But I'm looking to maybe start a jazz choir in the future. But yeah, I've been doing double ensembles for most of my program. It's ingrained into the curriculum that my students take especially for band, we end up doing like a concert 0 marching, and then they end up taking a symphonic with it if they're a wind player. Or if they're percussion, they take like an auxiliary percussion drumline class. Same with color guard as well. But I think I'm going to keep that model going just because it keeps that enrollment high. But we're talking about actually narrowing class sizes. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm definitely pushing for the co-curriculum to keep those numbers a little bit higher because it's a little scary going forward for all of us, for sure.
Can I ask if you happen to know if the students in the high school are enrolling, and this is all new to me, as an individual, or are they enrolling through an ECPP cohort?
What's
which is a right. Me, 24 hours ago. So what I'm learning is it's when a high school class is associated in its entirety with a college class, and it comes with extra benefits. And I don't know that I'm going to go that route, but I was wondering if anyone else has. And this is not only for me as an educator, but as a parent. I have a stepdaughter and my nephew lives with me, and they're both going to see a high school where they've just found out they're going to all be enrolling for their conservatory for CS Arts at Citrus College. So I'm trying to find out, are they doing ECPP or individual? Should I do ECPP? There's so many questions that,
So I don't nothing related to the ECPP. Most of mine is just co-curriculum within, like, co-classes within my own program. We're very right next door to Sonoma State University, so we're basically touching campuses with them. So there is connectivity, and my students have the availability to take ensembles there, like their beginning concert band and things like that. But there's no requirement based on like the college to high school, gap, and nothing I've heard about an ECCP.
Anyone else? ECPP? Yeah, you know me. No.
That sounds like a cheer. ECCP. Yeah, you know me.
I just have a general comment coming from the high school perspective, and kind of like a pleading of, if anyone has an idea, and I know Brian has already written stuff on the inner ear monitors, but if anyone does come up with how can I say this, logic for dummies, kind of way that a choral director or a vocal jazz director in the high school level could start approaching using that for next year in their curriculum, I think that would be extremely helpful. I have people that are helping me with my virtual choirs, but I know that a lot of my friends know that we're going to do a little bit of that no matter what in the fall. And so if there's any tools that could help us in that way, and also what Carrie and Julia are doing, I mean, anything that we can give our admin as soon as possible to say, hey, we have ideas, and this is coming from people that are actually in our profession and they're teaching at universities. It just gives us more, I would say, credentials of, yes, we're talking about unifying and doing something together across the curriculum. So that's just a plead from me, like, hey, if you think of anything, I'm all for it. Like, yeah, shoot it my way.
Well, I'll stick my hand up here because Jeremy at his Jazz Harmony retreats had me do a GarageBand Logic session, hour session with the 15 educators that we had there. And so I'm working on revising that, and that's going to be something, just maybe one extra resource we can throw out there specifically for, GarageBand and Logic, which are really similar. Actually, Logic is, when you first open Logic, it's GarageBand and it has all the advanced features turned off. And as you get more comfortable with Logic, you can go turn on the advanced edit features, and then you can get a little more complicated. So it will kind of learn with you, not really learn with you, but you know what I mean by that. So, there's some cool things to get into, and it's really, I used it for have students record duets in my piano classes. My pop rock ensemble recorded small group stuff, and we were able to use it. And yeah, if you can get your fingers on it, under it, it can be super helpful, as you know. So we're going to try to find ways to make that a little less, less painful, a little more user friendly.
Hey, I want to say just it's 5:55, which is an important, triple numbers time. Because we are going to continue to do these every week, and because they only last 1 hour, if you guys, before you sign out, could write in the chat box things that you would like to see discussed, or what would help this forum. Like, this week is kind of a y'all come, let's just talk. Would it be more helpful for like 1 week to be focused on high school or four-year college or community college, or areas, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, whatever, or different topics that you'd like to see discussed? Just write it in the chat box. And we're hoping to have, sorry if is it cool if I talk about this, Matt?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Perfect, Christine.
Yeah, we're hoping to have like a focused topic for every week, because I don't know if everyone can get together every single Thursday for this. And then the other thing that I want to do right now before I hand it back over to Matt is, I'm going to do a screenshot, and I want to make sure you're all prepared for said screenshot. So smile, everyone. Wait, how do I do this? Okay, wait. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more just in case. Brian Doko. 1, 2. Oh crap, hold on. I'm getting your chats in my box. That's not good. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Thanks. Okay, Matt. Back.
That's awesome. Thank you. Okay. All right. We have 5 seconds. So let me see if I can share my screen. Here we go. We have exactly 2 minutes and 51 seconds left. So it's time for the 251 wrap up. I don't know. I just wanted to. It was kind of fun. We wanted to make sure we kept the mood fun and light and helpful. So if you didn't do bottoms up at the end of the half hour, do it now. It's time to wrap things up. So we are going to close off this recording pretty soon. But we're going to leave the Zoom session open for those of you that are here. If you want to hang a little more, you want to talk a little more, we'll leave it open. But we're going to wrap this up for everybody. So as Christine alluded to, we're going to do this every Thursday, at least throughout the summer, at 5 o'clock Pacific time for 1 hour. Some of these will be, well, what I'm calling right now an all skate, where everybody's in, people that are in the group can come join the Zoom call. Some we may do more of a webinar style format, like we're getting deep into technology details right now. So I think we have a Brian Doko session coming up sometime soon on tap, where we'll just really talk with him. But even when we have those focused webinars, you'll still be able to comment through either our YouTube, Vocal Jazz Academy YouTube live stream, or through the Facebook live stream. So we'll be taking comments, and you can still interact with us live through it. So sometimes we'll have 3 or 4 or 5 people, and sometimes we'll just get all together and hang and be the community. So I think that's going to be really, really fun. So watch the group. We'll be posting what's going to be coming up starting next Thursday and going forward. So the other thing that we're going to start utilizing is probably as we get a little closer to the fall is, you might have seen Facebook groups have a room feature, which is basically Zoom built into Facebook. So some of our Vocal Jazz Academy faculty are going to be able to hang out, and we might be able to meet with you and a couple other the directors in your district or something like that, and let's just brainstorm together. We don't have the answers right now. None of us have the answers, and we're all dealing with different situations, but we're all having so many of the same considerations, and it's so good for us to talk. It's so good to see all of you. When we talked about this, kind of the 3 things that we really wanted to hit were, we wanted a group like this to be able to provide instructional support to you guys. We wanted a group like this to be able to provide technical support so we can get into the details, and emotional support. Those are the biggest 3 things that we want to focus on, and that's why we made the group, even though it's a public group. What you might have been asked a couple of questions to join, because we really want to keep the group focused, so that you can go to the group and go, man, I need help with this. Here's a whole thread in it. I can come find it quickly. I can get help, and I can talk to people about it. So thank you all for your wonderful ideas. Would you please join me in thanking our co-hosts Christine Guter and Ian Brekke and Christine Tavares Mocha, and of course our administrative ninja, who you do not see on camera, Jessica Falker, who has been helping us out as well. So thank you all for coming tonight. Like I said, we're going to leave this session open for a little bit. Go ahead. Yes?
Thanks to Matt.
Yes, thank you, Matt.
I'm just glad the laptop worked for an hour straight. Great job. Thanks, everyone.